course, they want to drive a wedge between Africa and the Muslim world, between Africa and the Middle East, and between Muslims and non-Muslims in Africa, because they know that solidarity between us would ruin all their plans. So they pretend, for example, that some Sudanese are Arabs and some are Africans. You know, they talk about Arabized Africans in Sudan. This is all part of trying to distort history and to try to impose a false narrative of Western-style colonization being perpetrated by the Muslims, which isn't something that ever happened. No, Sudanese are Africans. So-called Berbers are Africans. The Somalis are Africans. Nigerians are Africans. I mean, why is it that if they speak Arabic, that somehow makes them outsiders? But you don't call Africans who speak English or Africans who speak French or Afrikaans like they're outsiders. It's just the same old divide and rule tactic that you always use. And you're more desperate now than ever to try to prevent any African, Muslim, and non-Muslim solidarity. That's why you organize and train and arm and fund and back all of these militant jihadi groups in Africa, and everybody knows that you're the ones who are doing it. The French, the British, the Americans, everyone knows that these are your mercenaries, these so-called Islamic militants. Everyone knows that these are just your version of Wagner that you use to destabilize and control. You use their existence in Africa to justify your existence in Africa, which is the only reason why they have an existence in Africa, so that you can pretend that you're there to protect people. You can pretend that you're there to ensure security, but somehow you never make things better. You know, somehow in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso, for example, they've been more effective against those groups, those militant groups, since they kicked you out. No, you're just an old dog with old tricks, but everybody's on to you now. Oh, you have a long and disgraceful history in Africa. There's no getting around that. And you've never changed. This is the problem with you. I'm telling you, everything that you did over the centuries to that continent and to its people, it's doomed you. I don't think that America or the West even have a future unless and until they can do right by Africa, but they won't. They just keep compounding the wrongs of the past. And that is another unique thing about the West. They truly have a complete immunity from learning or evolving or correcting their behavior. Well, I haven't seen people like that never change. That's a special quality that they have. They're absolutely committed to primitivity. They have an insurmountable aversion to developing and civilizing and maturing. All their high-sounding words about values and principles are just used to cover up the fact that they have never actually internalized any of those values, any of those principles. There's no substantive difference between a con man and a mugger, just a difference in style. And that's what you can say so-called Western civilization is. It's the same old barbarism that it always was, but camouflaged with a style that can fool genuinely civilized people into thinking that they're not just muggers. Because you learned that style from our substance. You learned what civilized, sophisticated, moral societies look like when you encountered the Muslim world. So then you ripped off our style so that you could make people believe that you also had the substance that goes along with the style, but you never did have the substance, and you still don't. You came to the global south, came to Africa with barbaric intentions. But you knew that the people were people who were civilized people. They were educated people, decent people. And if you had come with a style that actually reflected your barbaric intentions and your barbaric substance, well, they'd see you a mile away. So you mimicked the style that they were used to, the style of civilized, educated, decent people. That's as much as you have matured. That's as much as you have developed. When you set foot outside of Europe, you discover that there are people in the world who have honor and morality and sophistication. So you learned how to refine your hunting methods. That's all. You did nothing but refine your hunting methods. So no, don't be modest. You are special. You are overachievers. There truly haven't been any people quite like you before. That's a fact. Your so-called civilization is indeed unique in human history. Because if the rest of the world was anything like you, then human history would have ended a long time ago.